Alrighty guys, welcome back, and in this video I want to start talking to you about something called services. Now a service is a process that can run in the background of your app. So it's pretty much a chunk of code that can run and it doesn't interfere with the users, just using the app or anything like that. And also, a service doesn't have an interface. You can't make an activity or any buttons to go along with the service. It's just a chunk of code that runs in the background. So why would you ever want to make a service? Well, say that you had, I don't know, maybe a social network app that was constantly checking for new notifications. Or maybe you had a messenger app that was always checking for new messages. Well, of course, these are just things that run in the background and you don't need to, click a button that say, okay, check for new messages now. Okay, check for new messages now. Or else it would be kind of annoying. So that's what a service is. Another thing that they're really good for is downloading images off a website in the background. So again, now that you got the idea, what I want to do is show you guys how they're created. And what I did is I pulled up that Apple's bacon program that we made earlier, and that's just because I'm going to show you guys that whenever you create a service properly, it's just a chunk of code that runs in the background and it doesn't interfere with the user experience. You can just put a button on the screen or something, just anything that you can interact with to essentially demonstrate that, okay, the service isn't interfering with the user experience at all. So actually we can close out of these. We really don't need those files. We're not going to be editing those at all. So again, I'm going to keep my apples and bacon Java files open just so you guys see what's going on. Now, the first type of service I'm going to show you guys how to create is called an intent service. And in order to create this, go to your main package right here and right click new and add a new Java class. Now I'm just going to name this Bucky's intent service and click OK, and we'll just pretend that this service is for downloading images off the internet. Although all I'm going to do is I'm just going to print out a little bit of text that says like the service is running or something, but we'll pretend that this is for downloading images off of, like, I don't know, maybe we made like an Instagram type app or something like that. Alright, so whenever you make a new intent service, there are a couple rules that you have to follow. The first rule is you need to have a constructor in here, and that's just kind of for housekeeping. And the second rule is you need to have a method called onHandleIntent. Now inside that method is where pretty much whatever you want your service to do, that's where the code goes. So remember those two rules, and let's go ahead and import everything to make it work first. So Android app intent service, because that's pretty much what this class is doing, and Android intent. There we go, it already knew. Alright, so in order to make this class this intent service, we actually need to, holy caps lock, inherit from intent service. So now once we do that, again, the first thing I said is public. Actually, I wonder if there's an autocomplete for a constructor. There we go. Alright, so here's my constructor right here, and of course the only thing that you have to do is you need to pass the superclass the name of this class, and that's just the rules for Android to make sure it works. And you actually don't even need any of this because we aren't using any parameters, and we can get rid of this as well. Now the only other thing that we need to do is we need to put an override method in, and that is called, if I can find it, it's called onHandleIntent. If you guys see it, let me know. Oh, here it is, onHandleIntent. So again, this is just housekeeping stuff. This is saying that this is indeed an intent service or a service, and in here I'll just write like this is what the service does. So this is pretty much to meet the most important part. So for now, since we don't want this service to actually do anything, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to import android.util.log. And this is just so I can print out a log message right here so we can see that this is actually working. Now, in order to do that, we already did this before, so, nothing new. So private static final string tag, and remember, you set this equal to whatever your package name is, and this is just standard. I'm not just like making this up. You should name it tag, and you should set it equal to whatever your package is. And now, of course, whenever you want to log a message, just call log.i, and the first parameter is that tag, and the second one is what message do you want to output down here. And I would just write something like the service has now started. Alright, so that's all this service is going to do. Of course, like I said, later on you may want to check some database for updates or download images or see if you got any new chat messages in here, but for right now, just print out a message. Oh well. So after this, what we need to do is we need to hop over to the manifest, and in our manifest we need to say, okay, we actually are using this service right now. So if you go right above application and right below activity, because this is, well, it's just where you need to put it. If you throw service, and the name that you put in here is just the name of your class. And where did my manifest go? Alright, so make sure you put dot and the name of your class, and that's it. And this just registers a service with your manifest. In other words, it tells your app, hey, we got this service, so that's that. So pretty sweet. Let me just, okay, messed everything up. Awesome. Alright, so we registered with the manifest, we created a service, looking good, looking good. Now the one last thing that we need to do is we need to actually start this service, because remember I said a service is pretty much some kind of process that runs in the background, but it doesn't just start by default whenever your app starts. You have to kick it off manually. So in order to do that, we can just head over to apples.java, and we'll just throw it right on this onCreate. So whenever this app gets created, it's going to kick off that service. Now in order to do that, intent, I'll just name it intent and set it equal to new intent, and the parameters are of course this, and if I can just copy this, it's pretty much like any other intent actually, come to think of it. Alright, so now we have an intent, which means we intend to launch some kind of class, and that class is this service or this background process right here. Easy weasy. Now anytime we want to start service, you just call start service. What do you want to launch? Well, how about that one right there? Alright, pretty stinking sweet. So now as soon as this app starts, it's going to launch this service. And the one thing I actually forgot to do is set up this log filter, because this is going to print out log messages. But as you guys can see, there are a crap load printing out right here, and this would indeed print them out, but it would print out all these other ones as well. So of course what we want to do is we want to filter out only the ones that we care about. So copy this, hit edit filter configurations, and I'm just going to make a new filter called like Bucky's filter and throw that right in there. Alright, so that's a little bit cleaner. So now let me go over to Apples again and kick this baby off. Alright, so check this out. It says the service has now started. In other words, this service currently right now would be doing something like downloading images off of the internet, but check it out. I'm gonna click it, it goes to bacon, click it, it goes to apples. Essentially, we can have this service running and it doesn't interfere with the user experience. So now you guys are probably wondering, alright, well, you told me in the last tutorial that computers run a list of instructions in a nice, neat order. So how is it that we can be having two different things happen at the same time? Well, you know, in the last tutorial, I showed you guys how to manually create a thread, and you can put code in there to run at the same time as your main program or your main thread. Well, whenever you create an intent service, it automatically creates a thread for you. So even though we don't see runnable or thread or anything like that, it does it all for you behind the scenes. So that's a pretty cool aspect of intent services. It automatically takes your service and it kicks it onto another thread, so it doesn't interfere with the user experience at all. So pretty stinking sweet. We now got images downloading, and it doesn't even interfere with any of that. So in the next tutorial, what I'm going to be showing you guys is another type of service. And alright, you know what, I'm going to explain it then because my throat is dying out here. So, well, anyways, I'll see you then.